Hello there, and welcome to another interesting episode of the interview. Today, I'm so delighted to have Christine Vihishima that I'll be introducing shortly. This lady here does just a lot of wonderful things in the world, as you will soon find out. So, as I always do, I encourage you to actively participate, even as we have this interaction. And if you have any questions specifically that you want Christine to address, she will be very happy to do that. Once again, welcome to another interesting episode of the interview. Let me introduce Christine properly, then we launch into our discussion for today. Christine Vihishima, aka Christine Ishanpepe, aka the Money Mechanic, is a visionary community and global leader who is passionate about quality and equitable access to education, coaching, mentoring, entrepreneurship, and service to community. She is currently a law student at the American University of Nigeria, Yola, where she is the president of the Law Students Society. And at the same institution, she was a one-time Miss AUN. She is the executive director of Thinking Cap Literacy Initiative, an NGO aimed at rolling back illiteracy among Nigerian children and teenagers using various creative methods. Christine is also a financial literacy coach, a writer, a speaker, and a professional photographer. And let me say here that I just mentioned few among the many things that this wonderful lady does. And so we'll just dive into the discussion. I'm so delighted to have you join me today, Christine, for this interaction.
Thank you, sir. I'm so happy to be here today. I consider it an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Esther. The delight is mine. So I want us to start. You are a personal finance coach. I want us to start with, talking about money. Money is very interesting, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Issues of money are very interesting. All of us kind of always want to pay attention to money because money plays a very integral part in our lives. So, how did you stumble, quote unquote, on this, path of financial literacy? Tell us a little bit about your story. I have heard that story, but I'm very sure that our viewers will want to hear that story before we launch into, talking about, finances and entrepreneurship and what have you, all the wonderful things that you do.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I'm always so delighted to tell my story because I believe that stories are very powerful, and I am doing what I do because of my experience, because of my story. So this is my story. 3 years ago, in 2018, to be precise, I was in a deep financial mess. I was getting money. So let me start from there. The issue was not money. At that time, I was doing very well. I had a couple of small businesses I was running at that time. And I was getting money at that time. So money was not my problem. However, I did not have the adequate knowledge to manage my finances. And that led me to be knee deep, if not neck deep, in debt. So I was owing quite a number of people. I had no assets, and also I had no savings. So I had nothing basically to my name. And I remember that one day I was reading a book, The Smart Money Woman, and the writer was talking about the importance of knowing your net worth, of knowing the health status of your finances. And that day I took the bold step to calculate my net worth. And I would vividly remember that I burst into a pool of tears in my room. And the reason was one thing: my liabilities were so much. And liabilities basically are the debt you owe. So you're supposed to add your assets and add your liabilities, and then minus your liabilities from your assets to find out your net worth. And that day I realized that, little debts, just like they say, little drops make an ocean. I had been assuming that these debts were very little. So I had debts of 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. And as a student at that time, who had no responsibility except maybe for myself and the work that I do, I was owing in hundreds of thousands.
Hmm.
And for me, it's a wake-up call. Because I said, you do not have any serious responsibility yet, and you're already in debt, running in hundreds of thousands, then that for me was a wake-up call.
Hmm.
And so that for me was, it was like telling me, if you don't get your money right, you're not going to get your life right.
Hmm.
And for me, I believe that money affects every aspect of our lives. And that's why it's
That's
important
right.
that we must learn the skill of managing your money, making your money, spending your money, and multiplying your money, because it's important that when you acquire all of these skills, you are able to take charge of your life, since money is such an important part of your life. So for me, that is my story, and that
Hmm.
has inspired me over time to not just take my own finances seriously, but to help other young people like myself start their journey right, so that they can secure their future at an early stage. So, yes,
Hmm.
this is my story.
Wow. A very powerful story, and I believe it resonates with a lot of people. And it's not just about making money, right? It's understanding the way money works. Unfortunately, a lot of people, it's not so much as if people don't get money. It is managing money and multiplying money and all those other things that usually make people indebted and poor and what have you. So you have 8 principles. I've listened to you. You have 8 principles that that you call like lifetime financial principles. Do you mind sharing those eight
Oh,
principles?
definitely. Definitely. For me, these principles are principles that I didn't just stumble on in one day. They are principles that in my last 3 years I consider as guiding principles. And I call them my favorite money principles of all time. And the reason is because I've come to realize that the same principles that people centuries before us applied to manage their money is the same principles that we can apply today and we can apply tomorrow. So for me, these are financial principles of all time. Now, the very first financial principle that is my favorite is that money, also known as gold, is a willing worker. And I found out this principle. I learned this principle in my favorite book called The Richest Man in Babylon. I would encourage anyone watching this to please read this book. It's such an insightful book, and it's such a powerful book with, principles that can help you in your journey, with your finances. Now, basically, what this principle states is that your money is eager to work for you. Except if you do not put your money to work, it will not multiply. Now, you cannot expect your money just to be kept in one place and expect it to multiply. Now, let's use a practical example. The parable of the talents in the Bible, when the rich man was going on a journey and he gave three of his servants various amounts of talents. He gave the first one 5, he gave the second one 2, and he gave the last guy 1. Now you can see from the story that the first 2 people put their money to work, either probably in investment or in business. And when the rich man came back, they were able to present double of what he gave them. Now, what did the third guy do? The third guy took his last talent and he hid it in the ground and gave it back to his master the way he was given. Now, that scripture gives me insight, great insight. And I just like to point out here how the Bible has so many scriptures and principles about money that I recently just started discovering. And for me, it blew my mind to see that if you don't put your money to work, it's going to lie there. It will not multiply. But when you put it to work, it's going to work for you. So the question now is, how am I putting my money to work? If I really desire that my money multiply, I must put it to work. So for me, that is the first money principle. So for me, each and every day, with my skills, my talent, and my knowledge, I am daily putting my money to work so that my money can multiply. Because it is when you're able to multiply money, you're able to acquire assets, and you're able to also leave a godly inheritance for your children. Okay, so my second principle
Okay,
is,
so sorry,
yes,
before you go to the second principle,
go
just
ahead.
as a way of proof, I just wanted to
Okay.
show
Yes.
them the book she's referring to here. It's also one of my favorites. It's a
Ah,
classic. It's
woo,
a story, wonderful story. I have read this
yes,
book, I don't even know
so
how many
many times.
times. So it's a small, easy to read, and yeah, so Continue, please.
Yes, thank you so much. Like, I love the book. You can read it in one sitting if you love to
Mhm,
read. It's just about
mhm,
100 pages.
mhm.
So it's an amazing book. Okay, so my second principle is to pay yourself first, also known as saving will save you. And for me, this is, oh my goodness, I don't even know how to rank these principles. But this is like my, if I were to pick a favorite, this is my favorite. Now, I started saving when I was little, right? So for me, at the time when I realized I had a money problem, saving was not exactly my problem. I had started saving when I was 5 years old. And this is where or why it is important that parents have money conversations with their children, and they also learn to instill such principles in their children. Now, my mom introduced me to the habit of saving when I was 5 years old. So it comes easy to me to save. I don't struggle to save. However, prior to 2018, do you know what I was doing? I was saving to spend. I was not saving to build. Now that is an entire ballgame. For some of us here, the issue is not that we don't save or we can't save. We are great savers, but our motive for saving is what sets us on the wrong path. We save, but we save to spend. So we see something we like and we begin to save for it. We save. Then we purchase it, and that's the end of the story. Then we're back into bankruptcy, and then we start the journey again. But the ideal thing is that you save to build. You save to build. You save to build. That is the proper way to save. Now, I talked about paying yourself first, and you may be wondering, what does paying yourself first and saving have to do with each other? They are literally the same thing. Now, paying yourself first means that when money comes into your hand, most often what we do is that we start thinking about all the things we need to do with money. We need to refill gas. For ladies, we need to make our hair. If you need to go to the hospital, you need to pay a lot of bills. So you know what we end up doing? We end up paying other people. So we end up, sustaining other people's businesses, and we end up bankrupt.
Hmm.
Now, the very first thing you must do is to save, and you pay yourself by saving. Remember, this saving is for your good, it's for your interest. This is money that you are dedicating to yourself and nobody else. So you must pay yourself first, and you must, at every point in time, save before you spend. Save
So
before you spend.
let me interject a little bit.
Right.
Sometimes people get this confused. The issue of savings is something it's a mistake I've done. You don't want to know how many times I created, I opened different bank accounts just to save. And I
Yeah.
ended up,
Spending
it's like
everything.
saving to squander, right?
Yeah.
And that is the attitude many people have. It's not as if people don't necessarily save.
Yes.
People save, but I think to some extent people don't even know the purpose of saving. So can you expatiate on that? Why do we save? If I'm paying myself first by saving, am I saving to spend, or am I saving to do what?
Okay. So, like I said, I got it wrong when I was saving to spend instead of saving to build. Now, I'm just going to run through a quick, let's say, analysis of the reasons why saving is so important. First of all, saving is a safety net for emergencies. And that's why I said at the beginning that saving will save you. Emergencies are a part of life. Nobody wishes for emergencies, but you must plan for emergencies. And when we come to the understanding that emergencies are a part of life, then saving is our best bet to handle these emergencies. If my phone, and this happened to me live and direct, and that was when I took the issue of having an emergency fund very seriously. I was gifted a brand new phone, and less than 2 weeks after using the phone, it fell down and the screen cracked. And I needed a certain amount of money to fix the screen of that phone. I looked at my savings, I looked at all my bank accounts, I collated all I had together, and it wasn't even half of what I needed to fix the screen of that phone. And that was an emergency. And for me, to an emergency, because I use my phone for everything. My phone is my office. So without my phone, I am basically handicapped. And that experience taught me the importance of having an emergency fund. Now, you see, the issue with saving is that you don't save in one place because you are saving for different things. You are saving for emergencies, you are saving for your needs, you are saving to invest, you are saving for personal development. So there are so many things that you need to save for. And I like the idea of having multiple bank accounts. I personally have multiple bank accounts. And what this has helped me do is to be able to set savings goals. Now, this is another part of saving. Saving helps you to set goals for yourself and then look for practicable ways that from your streams of income, you are able to save towards those goals. So a lot of us have needs we need to take care of. For example, I'm a business owner. As a photographer, I have a studio. Every year, I have to pay my landlord rent. So what I have done, a practical way is I use an app called PiggyVest, and a lot of Nigerians know about this app. PiggyVest is an automated app which automatically takes out money from your account. So for us, some of us, the struggle is I don't want to have to remember to drop money every day. It will pay me if I have to do that. So what I did was immediately I paid my rent in 2020. I automated my PiggyVest to be taking an amount of money from my account every day. And I set it to end on the 2 or 3 days before my rent is due in 2021. Now, by the time my rent is due in 2021, I have saved over, the 1 year period of time for my rents. Now, that is just one savings goal that I am attacking by using this strategy. There are other things that I have also saved in different places. When you invest, you are also saving your money because you are putting your money in a mechanism or in a structure that is not just leaving your money there. It's now causing your money to work over time. So the main reason why you save is to prepare yourself for emergencies and to meet your life goals. I'm going to summarize it like that because we can go on and on about saving.
That's wonderful. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So my third principle is relying on one stream of income is a risky way to live. And I use the word risky because it's a risk, basically. Now, let's look at it this way. The pandemic was one experience that buttressed this point for me. A lot of people, sadly, were unable to cope during the pandemic because they had one stream of income. Many of them 9-to-5 jobs. Now, during the pandemic, especially in Nigeria, some people lost their jobs, while others did not necessarily lose their jobs, but were either not getting paid, of course, because they were not going to work and most of their jobs were not virtual, or they had their salaries slashed because, of course, money isn't coming in and they're not going to work. Now, many families had no other way, no other stream of income, and so they struggled through the pandemic. Now, on the contrary, for me, I had a swell time during the pandemic, funny enough, because I had structures in place, not just for my businesses, but even for myself as a person. I leveraged on my knowledge, my skills, and my experience to still have streams of income during the pandemic. One of my businesses is, as the money mechanic, is a virtual business, which I can do from anywhere. And during the pandemic, I was getting paid for sharing the knowledge I acquired over time. Another thing that helped me during the pandemic was that I had made investments prior to the pandemic, which were not affected by the pandemic in any way. And so while the pandemic was on and people were at home, I was receiving alerts of investments I had made before the pandemic. Now, this did not happen in one day. These were structures I had put in place before the pandemic. And it buttressed the fact that you can never rely on one stream of income. You can never. It's too risky. Because if pandemic or not, what if you lose your mainstream of income? Secondly, what if at a particular point in time, the economy is not favoring that sector? So for example, imagine if all I did was photography. During the pandemic, nobody was taking pictures. I get most of my gigs from weddings, from photo shoots, people walking into the studio, people asking me to come to their homes and their offices. And at that time, There was no business. So if I was not doing any other thing aside photography, I would have really had it rough during the pandemic. So the whole idea is that you must leverage on your skills. I keep saying it, on your knowledge, your interest, your experience, to create other streams of income. And I'm not talking buy and sell. Not everyone is cut out to buy and sell. That is why you must think outside the box. What skills do I have? What knowledge can I share? What experience can I leverage on? What interest do I have? Sometimes we have an interest we consider a hobby, but can turn into a money-making venture for you. So the whole idea is to expand the places where you get your money from. And I'll end this point with an illustration. I want you to imagine a 1,000-liter capacity tank, okay? And I give you a 20-liter bucket. And I tell you that in 1 hour, I want you to fill this 1,000-liter capacity tank with water using this 20-liter bucket. I guarantee you that you cannot do that alone in 1 hour. Now, scenario 1. Scenario 2, 1,000-liter capacity tank. And I call 10 people, or let's say 5, to be more reasonable. And I give you guys 20-liter buckets. And I say, I give you an hour, 30 minutes. Fill this tank with water. I bet you that the possibility of filling that tank when you have 5 people is way higher and even more possible than filling that tank just one person. Now, the idea is this. You are able to fill your purse with income and strive for your financial goals and build the future you want. But you can only do that when you multiply your streams of income. All right. So, do you have anything to say before I go to my fourth point?
Yeah. Sometimes people get this idea of multiple streams of income. They get it twisted to some extent.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people think that the idea of multiple streams of income is becoming jack of all trades and master of none, right? It's like doubling your hand in different things that you don't even specialize in anything. I'm not sure that is what it means. I think talking about multiple streams of income is just saying is the idea of diversification.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know whether you want to comment on that idea that people usually think that just having multiple of income streams of income means that you should be doing this and that and that. At the end of the day, you are getting nothing from.
No, that's not it, and that's why when you are doing these things, you set goals for one, and these goals must be smart. We're talking about specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You must set smart goals, whether you are setting saving goals, whether you are budgeting, whether you are talking about what streams of income you want to, implement and all of that. Secondly, it's not about being jack of all trades and master of none. Sometimes it's just minimal effort. Investment is a stream of income. Now, I invest with little knowledge and little effort. Why? Because now the world has evolved and there are investment opportunities that do not require anything aside your money, your commitment, and your little knowledge of understanding the investment opportunity. Once your money is put in a place that is working for you and giving you returns, it is already a stream of income. So when I mention my streams of income, aside being a photographer, being the money mechanic, I add investment to it because it's the stream of income. And I literally just do my due diligence, find an investment that works for me, takes minimal effort. I put my money in there, and on payday, I get paid. That is a stream of income. And because I know when the monies come in, you know what that helps me do? I'm able to now set goals that I need to meet with certain funds. So I know that from this investment I have made, I would like to push this into probably, for example, a building project. Or I know that these funds, I want to push them into, expanding my business or personal development or paying for this course or writing my book, publishing my book, whatever it is. So the whole idea. And thirdly, skills can be learned. Skills can be learned. So we limit ourselves to one thing when we know that we are powerful beings. God has made us creative and powerful beings. If we put our minds to it, there are skills we can learn. I didn't wake up a personal finance coach. I never even had interest about money. But what has made me an authority over the past 3 years is because I had a problem and I turned my problem into not just a way to help others, but a stream of income for myself.
Hmm.
Yes.
So I want you to respond to this is not meant to be tricky. Still talking about multiple streams of income, right? So the adage says, um, do not put your eggs in one basket, right?
Yes.
But Andrew
Yes.
Carnegie, I think it was Andrew Carnegie or so that said, put your eggs in one basket and watch them and watch the basket closely.
Andrew
So,
Carnegie is a smart man, but I do not agree with that principle.
okay.
I honestly do not agree with that principle. I honestly feel that, see, life has evolved, and with where we are right now in the economy, in life, you cannot put your eggs in one basket. That basket then must be loaded. And even if it's loaded, who told you that something cannot disrupt that basket, that something cannot tilt that basket over and the eggs break? Aha. So the thing is, it's just safety, okay? Security. Safety and security is all we are talking about. You need that in your life, especially if you have big dreams. But then the thing also, when I teach people, I also tell them that, see, some people are actually they just want a comfortable life. It also depends on your goals as a person. For some people, they really just want a comfortable life. And I also don't blame them, because if I'm to teach you on investment, I will also teach you on knowing your risk profile. We all have different risk profiles. Some of us are low risk takers. Some of us are medium risk takers. Some of people like us are high risk takers. Now we're all different. A low risk taker would really not want to put their money in anything that they're uncertain about. So they might
Isn't,
just go into,
but
yeah,
isn't
go
that,
into, yeah,
sorry to
yeah.
interject, but isn't
Go.
that the greatest risk anyway?
Well, but the thing is, the person must understand that low risk give you low returns. It's simple. So if you want high returns from your investment, you have to be a high risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then, like I said, some people they really just want to have a good life, be able to pay my children's school fees, pay my rent, and take care of myself. But if you have big dreams and big goals, you cannot be a low risk taker. And you cannot, the world's richest men, let's be practical, do not have one stream of income. Even
That's true.
Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla, has invested in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think crypto is not another stream of income? It is. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yes.
Keep going.
Okay. So, our fourth principle is realizing you have a money problem and that you need help is the very first step to financial freedom. Now, if you read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, the very first chapter teaches you this principle. You see that the main character in that book is I think a goldsmith or a smith, a blacksmith or so in Babylon. And he's one day just thinking about how his purse is always empty and he doesn't have money. Yet he lives in the richest city in the world. How? And he begins to wonder. And he speaks to his friend, and they decide to go to their friend who's said to be the richest man in the city, to share with them the knowledge on how he became so rich and all of that. Now, the moral of the story is this. Until you realize you have a money problem, you will keep being in denial and you will keep having money problems. Take it from me. Until I realized I had a money problem, I continued to practice wrong money management, habits. And I didn't get anywhere. I told you, money was not my problem. And I remember 2018 was a very lucrative year because aside businesses that I had on campus, I was a big businesswoman. I won the entrepreneurial award in my school, I think twice. Yes, I won the entrepreneur of the year award. So money was not my problem. So remember, and this is where money it does not give you financial freedom or does not give you financial literacy. It is financial literacy that brings money to you. So although money was coming in, that money was not staying. It was going as quickly as it was coming. When I realized I had a money problem, everything became easy. And I want to quote something by Seneca. It says, and I quote, "It is part of the cure to wish to be cured." So until you wish to be cured, you're going to remain in your money problem. All right. Any comments before I go on?
I think that is very important. It's very profound. Many people just feign, they just pretend. They know they have money problems, but they don't want to acknowledge it. I don't know. There is something about acknowledging, acknowledging that you have a problem. So it goes even to our finances, right? People have money problems and they keep taking debts. I know you're going to talk about debts, but they keep, piling debts, and they don't even want to, even if somebody wants to confront them about that, they kind of react because they just feel they don't have a money problem. The problem is poverty. The problem
Yes.
is the global economic system. The problem is the government that is not working. The problem is lack of employment and all those, and we go on and on talking about all these other factors. So because we refuse to acknowledge that we
Our
have a problem. Yeah.
All right. So my fifth money principle of all time is that budgeting is your superpower. And honestly, I come up with these phrases from experience. Budgeting is actually your superpower. And let me tell you why. A lot of us have the mentality that, oh, it's my money, so I can spend it anyhow I want to spend it. Why should I sit down and plan for my money? Um, in a very recent class I had, I was asking my students why they don't use a budget, and one of them said, "Budgeting is so stressful," and I laughed. The truth is, budgeting gives you the power to control your money. You see, it's better to foresee where your money is going to go to than to come back and be wondering and asking yourself, where did my money go to? And a lot of us are in this category. So I laugh when I see people post, I had 10,000 in my account this morning and I don't know where it has gone to. Now I have 1,000. You see a lot of people post things like that. And it's really funny at the onset, but it's a red flag. Because if you cannot account for where your money has gone to, for the little 5,000 naira, little 10,000 naira, you don't know where it has gone to. It means that when you have 1,000,000 naira, when you have 100 million naira, you will hardly be able to properly account for that money. Now, the thing with budgeting is a mind thing. There is no way you can budget off the top of your head. Why? Because you need to think about, what do I want to use this money for exactly? What are my needs at this time? This thing I want to buy, is it a need or a want? Can I do without it? Or can I just set money aside until I can afford it? There are certain things that are needful, but we can't afford at the point in time. So you hear people get discouraged. Oh, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. The thing is, you've not budgeted. You haven't set a savings goal for that. The thing is, you can afford anything you want if you put your mind to it and you put the right strategies in place. Budgeting is one way. And we must never, ever restrict budgeting to large sum of amounts of money. 2 days ago, no, yesterday, I was on a radio show on campus in school here. And, they were asking me how can students, effectively manage their money. And I brought up the issue of budgeting and we're just laughing over it. And I said, sometimes we feel it's just 5,000 naira. Why am I budgeting 5,000 naira? By the time I know that I'm going to use it to buy data, maybe buy food to eat, and then, just enjoy, and then 5,000 naira is gone. And I said, no. Even 5,000 naira, 2,000 naira should be budgeted for. Because when you budget, you outline, this is what I want my money to do for me. And your money has to obey. Remember, money is a willing worker. It will also listen to you when you talk to it and tell it what you want it to do. So budgeting, instead of taking the power from you, budgeting actually gives you the power to control your money. And I say this with no fear, that money is toxic and intoxicating. So if you do not take charge of your money will control you. So you must be careful. Instead of giving money control over you and your decisions, you decide for your money what you want it to do for you. So yes, budgeting is just power.
I want you to comment on this idea of debit and credit cards, right? I know people, some are my friends, that the debit card or the credit card is like it's like a demon, right? When as long as they know that they have money in their account and they have the debit card, it's like they are not comfortable until it is exhausted. So will you advise those types of people to kind of do their banking transactions without debit cards, or what is the way out of that kind of quandary?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to be very practical about this. Now, there are different ways that you can handle this, and I'm going to share how I have handled it because I believe it will also help. Now, debit cards are very, it's demonic, very addictive. In fact, what makes it worse right now is that you see this USSD codes that we have now. If you're a GT user, 737. Oh my goodness. Because all you need to do is literally dial star 737 and you can buy airtime, you can buy data, you can send money, and all of that. What I have done is, you see, these habits, right, that we talk about, saving, budgeting, they work together. They work together to help your finances. They don't stand in a vacuum of their own. You can't budget if you don't save. You can't save without budgeting. Because let me tell you, as you are budgeting, an item on your budget should actually be saving. So you should actually budget to save. All of these things work hand in hand. Now, for debit cards, what I have done is I have one main account that has a debit card. Now, that account I term as my day to day account. So, for day to day expenses, airtime, money for cab rides, and all of that. Now, I have set aside, I didn't talk about this, but there's something called a survival number. A survival number is literally the amount of money you spend, you live on monthly. Now, your emergency fund, I digress a little, is supposed to contain 3 to 6 months of your survival number. This is because it is assumed, and you can check this anywhere by financial experts, that if you lose your main stream of income, let's say your 9 to 5 job, before you find another one, you should be able to take care of yourself for 3 to 6 months. And your emergency fund is supposed to step in when such an emergency comes up. Now, in my day-to-day fund, after I get money and I spend it on the things that I need for the month, I set aside an amount of money in that account that I must not exceed spending weekly. So when I want to spend, I look at my budget for the week and I see, have I finished spending the money that I set aside for this week? Secondly, I have multiple bank accounts. Now, many of us are tempted to use our debit cards. Why? Because all our money is in one place. So we think we have money when we see 100,000 naira, but we forget to realize that not all of that 100,000 naira is for spending. That is why when money comes into your main account, you must learn to send them to where they belong. So one thing I do is that when money comes into my mainstream account, I distribute it to where I want it to go immediately so that I am not tempted to spend with my debit card. And many of my accounts, I have chosen not to have cards for them. I use two main cards. The cards I use to pay for things online, and then the card I use for my day-to-day expenses. And this has helped because when I apportion money to other things, so I send the money I want to send to my personal development account, I send the one I want to send to my investment account, I send the one I want to send to my emergency fund, I am left with just the money that I need to take care of my needs and probably a little ones in my day-to-day account. So that also now gives me an idea of how much I can afford to spend. And I've set a limit, like I said, for myself. Weekly, there is an amount of money I must, at all possible cost, not exceed spending. on myself or my needs weekly. So this keeps me in check. So you see, saving, budgeting, all of these things, they work hand in hand. They are not, and they are never in a vacuum. So to anyone who's struggling with, how you use your debit cards and all of that, my suggestion for you is make sure that you give yourself a limit of spending. Don't put all your money in one place. That is very tempting. When you do that, you're tempted to spend it before you now realize that, oh, I shouldn't have spent that money. Give yourself a limit of what you can afford to spend and what you cannot. There are certain times that friends of mine, they message me and they're like, oh, I beg, send me urgent 2K, or can you do this for me? And I tell them, oh, I have exceeded my budget for the week. I even told someone that they have exceeded my budget for the weekend. So let's see what happens next week. So all of these things, self-control is very important. Setting goals, very important. All of these things, you need to be intentional about them. So I hope that this is helpful to someone here.
Go ahead.
All right. So let's go to the sixth principle. It says, avoid quick cash outs. Learn to allow your investments to simmer. Now, I know we're not going to delve into investment talk tonight, but if you're someone who is currently investing or plans to start investing, this is one principle I really, really would like you to take to heart. And the reason is because of this. A lot of us, I won't even say young people, because even old people fall prey of this. A lot of us are looking for quick cash outs. And I get this a lot. People message me and they're like, money mechanic, I have 10,000 naira, I have 20,000 naira. And so tell me, where can I put my money in that I'll get my money sharp, sharp, sharp. I'll get profit sharp, sharp, sharp. And I just laugh. And I tell them, that is not investing. Investing is a journey. It is a process. You need to allow your money to grow, to work for you. It's not a money doubling scheme. Many people think investment is a money doubling scheme. And it's so sad to see both young and old people fall prey to schemes like binomo these binomo investments you see a lot on Facebook. You see them take over people's Facebook accounts and they message you and tell you, you give me your money and I'll give you 500% in 2 hours, in 24 hours, and all of that. Those are not investments. Those are money doubling schemes. That's just it. Now you must allow
Ponzi schemes,
yes,
right?
yes, sir. You must always allow your investment to simmer. And I use the word simmer because I like to use illustrations a lot. Now, if you cook, and you know that when you want to marinate meats, you get your spices and all those nice things. You put them on your meat, you wrap them around your meat, you wrap your meat in probably a Ziploc bag or a leather bag, and you put them in the fridge and you allow it remain for 5 hours. Some people even leave it for 3 days. Some people leave it for a week. Do you know what they're trying to do? They want the juices in those sauces to go into the meats so that when they boil and they fry, that's why you eat meat and down to the bone, it's delicious. Why? Because they allowed the meat to marinate. And when they were cooking it, they allowed it to simmer. They allowed it to cook for long periods of time. They allowed the heat to go in and out so that the end product is yummy and beautiful and delicious. That is the same thing. If you want to get the best of your investment, you must allow it to simmer. So avoid money doubling schemes. Avoid investment when someone comes to you promising you outrageous returns after a short period of time. That already is a red flag. There are so many other things you are supposed to look out for when an investment opportunity is presented to you. But one way to know that an investment opportunity is most likely not reliable is when you are promised quick cash outs. And also, yes, there's the principle of compounding. Compounding is said to be the eighth wonder of the world. What is compounding? Now, compounding is basically you invest an amount of money now. Then let's say after 3 months, you get your return on your investment. Now, instead of spending the return on your investment, you take your initial capital, you take your return on investment, you put it together, and then you reinvest it. So practically, if I invested 100,000 naira in an agri-tech platform and the return on investment was 15% after 12 weeks, it means that after 12 weeks, I will be paid 115,000. Now, the first thing would be, I've blown 15,000. I should spend it on this and spend it on that. No, I take my 115,000, I take it as a whole and I reinvest it. This means that the next time that I am getting returns, instead of getting 115,000, I will be getting 100 and right now off the top of my head, about 120,000. Why? Because I reinvested all that I got and it keeps compounding and compounding and compounding. So compounding is another thing that helps you to avoid quick cash outs. My principle 7, don't use debt to clear debts. And I say this with all, I plead with you. Don't use debt to clear debt. A lot of us fall into this trap, and I did. I thought that, see, the truth is, when I realized I wanted to get my money right, I didn't just get it right. I still made mistakes. And let me tell you the first mistake I made. I borrowed money to pay money that I borrowed back. That was the first mistake I made. And I'm not even going to lie. That in my own way, right? I was trying to fix the problem. I realized I had a money problem.
Most of us have fallen into that trap, and we think we are being smart, right?
I thought I was being smart. Really? I thought that, okay, you know what? I'm going to look for one person, borrow all the money, right? And then pay it. Then I'll now make a plan to start paying this person back. It didn't end well. It did not end well. Because why? I still did not have a plan to make money to even pay back this person. So I was almost spiraling back again to where I was. And that is the mistake a lot of us make. We borrow money, then we borrow money to pay back money. Then the debt starts hooking us, so we borrow money to pay back the debts. And you know what that does? We just keep falling into debt. And you know what debt does to your finances? It sucks the life out of your finances. Because you will spend your entire finances paying off debts. And I tell my students, especially when we learn about debt and we do the dealing with debt exercise, I tell them that if you are currently in debt, your first priority is not investment. Your first priority is paying back your debt. You need to be able to start on a clean slate so that you can save properly, budget properly, and invest properly. So if you're listening to me today and you are knee deep in debt, you need to come up with a plan. And let me just quickly share with you 4 or 3 ways that you can deal with your debt. First of all, make a list of your debts. Until you make a list of your debts, you won't know how much you are owing. Like I said at the beginning, for me, I thought it was 500 naira here. So what is 500? I'll pay it back. 1,000, what is 1,000? I'll pay it back. 5,000, what is... Until I put all my debts together and it blew my mind. So make a list of your debts. Then prioritize your debts. Ask yourself, among all of these debts, which one is the most pressing one? So if you're living in an apartment and your rent is about to expire, you know you will not have a place to live. So that should be number 1 on your list. Then, thirdly, make a plan. Come up with a plan. Set a debt repayment goal plan for yourself. And this could include who you're owing, how much you're owing them, and then come up with a SMART plan. Like I said, SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So let me give you a practical example. Say you owe someone 60,000 naira and you give yourself a deadline and say, I really want to pay back this 60,000 naira in 12 months. So what I will do is every month, I will set aside 5,000 naira to pay back this debt over the next 12 months. I will have an honest conversation with my the person I'm owing, and I'll tell him, I really want to pay back this debt, but I cannot afford to pay it in whole. But I commit to paying you 5,000 naira every month. If you read The Richest Man in Babylon, you will see a practical example of how that was applied. It wasn't easy for him at the beginning, but when people saw his efforts, they began to collect the little he was able to come up with. So don't use debt to deal with debt. Finally, my final favorite money principle is let go of the scarcity mentality and think abundantly. And I will tread carefully as I speak on this, especially for Christians on this platform. And the reason is because a lot of us grew up not having money conversations with our families. We grew up being told there's no money, it's too expensive. Oh, you're focusing on worldly things. Oh, you love money. Money is not good. Money is evil. It is the love of money that is the root of all evil. Let's not misquote the Bible. The Bible also says that as a man thinks, in his heart, so is he. God has put us here to be fruitful and to multiply. He has also given us work to do. For me, I do a lot of community work. And I found my community work by the work that I do to earn money.
Sorry to interject a little bit because I think this is a very important point. I just want to say that most of the people that say money is not good are the ones who love money the most. Just to put the word out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody once said, before you can say money is not good, just try and make it, right?
Yeah,
try and make money. Have a lot of money and tell us that it is not good.
You will never say that. You will never say that. You're right, sir. And so it's important that you begin to think abundantly and let go of the scarcity mentality. Let go of that mentality that there is no money and money is not enough. Do you know what that does to you? That restricts you even from thinking outside the box about how you can expand your streams of income. Let me tell you something. When you realize that there is money to be made, see, there's money to be made. There's money in this world. When people sit and say there's no money in Nigeria, I challenge them. There is money even in this land. Even with everything, even with the inflation. The people that are making the money, do they have two heads? No, they don't. They have just realized and come to the understanding that I will not be poor. I will not engage the scarcity mentality. I will look for this money wherever it is and I will make it. That is why you see people coming up with creative ideas, and their creative ideas are meeting needs and are giving them money. Because we think we have just conditioned our minds. The moment I stopped conditioning my mind to scarcity, I started doing well with my finances. Because let me tell you something, I'm always on my toes thinking of how I can provide solutions that can also put money in my pocket. So I may not have money in my pocket, but I assure myself, Christine, there's money to be made. You need to find where that money is and you need to make it. You need to find that need and you need to solve it. And you need to package it well so people will pay you for meeting their need. So think abundantly and you will see that your mind will change and your body will respond. Your body will respond. It's a mind thing. If you think, your body will respond. Your mind will begin to, go in sparks. And you will start seeing problems where you never saw problems. So yes, let me stop here for now.
Oh wow, that was explosive, I will say. I wanted us to talk about other things because you do a lot of other things, but I want to just say here that we'll end it here. This is one guest I am very sure I will bring over and over to this to the interview because she's just too loaded. If you have listened to her for this for this couple of minutes, you know that she's loaded. So these are the type of things that I want, to just add value to people. And let me also say that Christine does a lot of things on different platforms, right? She has a podcast. She is on YouTube. She does a lot of things on Facebook. She does a lot of interviews and teachings on Instagram, but specifically it's not everything that she gives freely, right? She is a financial coach, a finance coach. So you can connect with Christine. She will coach you personally, but you have to pay some money.
Oh,
You pay money to get money, right?
of course.
So you can
Definitely.
connect with Christine. Let me just show you a few ways that you can connect with her. So if you
Yeah.
go to Instagram, this is her Instagram handle that you can connect with her. Follow her there. She does a lot of programs there that add value for free, but she also does, paid coaching programs. If you want to follow her, look her up on Facebook. This is
Yeah.
name on Facebook. This is how it appears. Don't ask me why she has different names on different platforms. That's one of the questions I ask her. So another, if you want to look up some of her videos on YouTube, life lessons with Miss Petite. So
I am
just
petite actually.
yeah, so you can check that YouTube channel. She has a lot of content. She does a lot of book reviews there, and she gives practical lessons about finances and what have you. Tell us other ways that people can connect with you, especially your coaching programs and some of these other things that you do.
Okay, so you can always email me at talktothemoneymechanic@gmail.com. Talktothemoneymechanic@gmail.com. I do group coaching classes, small group coaching classes because I really want to connect with my students. So I do small group coaching classes every month, once a month. I just had one this month, and I am planning to have another one in the next 4 weeks. The flyers for that will soon be out. And in those group coaching classes, I take you over a period of 5 days where you learn about, the money mindset, saving, budgeting, everything we've talked about tonight. You learn about it in detail. I give you worksheets to work on, and I interact with you on a personal basis. If you are not a group kind of person, you can also book a one-on-one session with me. Just shoot me an email, DM me, Facebook, Instagram. I am always active on all my platforms.
Okay, wonderful. And let me say here, in case you missed the introduction, this lady here that does all these different things, I don't even know how she does them. She is a law student.
Yes,
She's a full-time law student, right? And
yes,
she does all these other things. So
yes,
making money is essentially a personal decision. If you decide,
yes.
many people say, I am too busy, I don't have the time. If you know what law is, law students, it's not a
Mhm,
job studying law, right?
mhm,
But this is a
mhm.
full-time law student and is able to make out time and do all these other things, adding value and also, coaching people, photography, and all kinds of things that she does.
Mhm.
This is one guest, just as I said, let me reiterate that I will definitely bring
Bring
back
back
Christine
again.
on this platform to talk about something different. I just want to thank you so much for your time. She's also a speaker. In case you want to book her for speaking engagement in your events and what have you, just contact Christine. As you can see, she's a fluent speaker, very good speaker, and you will not regret that. Once again, thank you so much, Christine, for making
Thank
time to be
you.
part of
Thank
this.
you, sir. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I enjoyed my time.
I really do. I did. I really appreciate you for making time to come.
Thank you, sir. All right, then. Keep up the
All
good
right.
work. Good
Thank
night.
you. For all of you that participated in one way or another, thank you so much. Until I come
Yes.
your way next time with another interesting episode of the interview. Bye for
Yes.
now and enjoy your weekend.
All right. Bye.